today I've got Glyn Hunt with me. He works in Ukraine as a volunteer dealing with humanitarian aid. Have I got that right, Glyn?
Yeah, you have.
So can I just ask you, because Glyn doesn't sound like a Ukrainian name, so what made you go to Ukraine and why not go to some other country? So how did it all start, your journey with Ukraine?
Well, what it was is like over here in England, you know, I sort of keep an eye on the news, and I saw the build-up by the Russians, building up. I thought, no, they're not gonna go. It's just a bit of saber rattling. Woke up in the morning and they'd gone into Ukraine.
After months of preparations, the Russian President Vladimir Putin has launched a major military operation against Ukraine. Speaking on national television, Mr. Putin urged Ukrainian troops to lay down their arms and go home. He warned that anyone who interfered in Russia's actions would face retaliation. Loud explosions have been now heard in Ukraine in lots of different cities as the Russian assault has begun.
Now, obviously, a couple of days later, all the images came out of people getting forced out of their homes, train stations crowded, good people, you know, just didn't have anywhere to go.
3 million people have fled Ukraine. It's nearly 7% of the country's entire population. Tatiana Andreeva and her cats, along with her 2 young daughters, spent 22 hours on a train from their home in southern Ukraine to the Polish border town of Medyka. When they arrived, the chaos they left behind was, for a moment anyway, replaced with compassion. But their journey was just beginning. They were soon boarding a bus, going deeper into Poland, where they hope to catch another bus that will take them to Germany. 11-year-old Anna and 6-year-old Irina have been spared the grim details for the most part.
And I thought, well, I'm at a loose end between jobs. I'll go down to the Polish border for a couple of weeks and help out with the humanitarian crisis down there. That was my original plan anyway.
Yeah. And then what happened next?
Well, I was in Lublin, flew across to Lublin from Luton, and hotel was there. Just across the way, there's a queue of people. And I said to the guy at the hotel, I said, you know what, what's going on? He said, oh, it's the Ukrainian embassy. So I said, all right. So I queued up and just went in and asked and said, look, is there any, do I need anything? Do you need a visa? Do you need X, Y, Z? No. You know, where are you from? I said, British passport. Yeah, it's no problem. And then down the bus station, there was a bus with Lviv on it.
Right.
So I booked 4 nights accommodation and went to Lviv and started down working on the train station.
So you get to Lviv. Did you know anybody there? Did you meet anybody?
No, didn't have a clue.
So you must have met somebody because obviously you spent some time out there from what you told me before. So who did you meet first and where did they take you?
Sorry, who did I meet first? God, that's a good one. I woke up in the morning, basically, and I went down to, because I didn't know anyone in Ukraine, so I stayed one night in my accommodation, woke up in the morning, went down to the station, and I asked in 2 or 3 places, probably a language barrier as well, but then I went to there was a food tent at the Lviv station, and asked in there, and young man spoke English, young lad called Alex, very good boy, you know, very good lad. Did a bit of translating for me, and that's how it really started. And then as I was in there, I got to know a few more people. Yeah. So yeah, it was all good.
So you, because when I first met you, and this was by phone and over the internet, you were in Mykolaiv. So obviously you started in Lviv. So how did you end up in Mykolaiv?
Okay, that's quite a long. Well, as I say, started off in the food tent in Lviv station, and I'd been there about 3 months, and then I asked for permission if I could open my own little thing up, a little stall, whatever you want to call it, tent. I think people call it, you know, where I go out, cat food, dog food and sweets to the people coming off the trains, because the dogs coming off, didn't have anything. Kids need cheering up, possibly. And then from there, it just evolved, really. I went on a couple of runs with a couple of guys I knew, down to Odessa and across to Kiev, I think, just past Kiev. Kharkiv. Sorry, not Kiev, Kharkiv. And I think as I've progressed along, I've met a lot more people. Not last trip before. Yeah. Just ended up in Mykolaiv. Met this guy, Vadim, from the organisation I helped with down there. And, yeah, sort of, he knew some guys. They had, got a decent organisation. And I decided to sort of plant myself down there when I went down there next, really, because it was close enough, like Kherson. I'm sure a few people hearing this will know about Kherson, but yeah, Kherson's within the artillery range of the Russians.
It's not when it's loudest. Kherson has seen every stage of the war's 2 years. Invasion, occupation, and liberation. Yet day is when the damage is clearest.
It's very grim there, they get attacked every day. Mm-hmm. But so Mykolaiv is close to Kherson, and we do a fair bit going into Kherson and that area. So it's convenience. It's worked out well, convenience, really.
Okay. So you've been so you've been to Lviv, you've been to Mykolaiv, you've been to Kherson, and you've been to Kharkiv as well?
Yeah, Kharkiv.
And have you been to Donetsk or not?
Oh yeah, I've been to. I'll give you the places that I remember.
Okay.
Kharkiv, Bakhmut. I went there a year and a half ago. Kupiansk a couple of weeks ago.
Wow.
Sloviansk a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
Krematorsk, and there's a couple of other places that I didn't know because we were meeting people.
Okay, so
in the middle of nowhere, if that makes sense.
So let me ask you this question. I mean, if you're in Kiev or you're in Lviv, one of those big cities, and the sirens go off, normally what people tend to do, they either go to the underground or they go to some shelter. Where would you go if you was in a town or a place like Mykolaiv? Where would you hide? Where would you run?
To be honest with you, you become quite blasé about it,
right?
Because in Mykolaiv, averaging 5 or 6 times a day. Mm-hmm. Actually, there was a missile strike in Mykolaiv yesterday. Someone died, like 5 were injured as well.
Right.
Yesterday, my friend messaged me from Mykolaiv, but yeah, they go off like 5 or 6 times a day. Now, when I was at Lviv station, and it's relevant to your question, there's a couple of options. There is a shelter, or what, you can stay wherever or whatever. But my brother, good lad, was in the British Army for 23 and a half years. And, I said to him, what would you do? He said, well, you got a choice. You can go into a shelter.
Yeah.
But if that gets hit, it's going to be quite chaotic. Mm-hmm. He said, you just stand around and hopefully nothing happens. He said, or go and find a building that doesn't have any glass. And then just, if anything goes, you can just get down underneath that. He said, that's just 3 options. So I tend to not go in the shelters, to be honest with you. But again, as I say, Mykolaiv, he goes off 6 or 7 times a day, and it just becomes part of your day, really, if that makes sense.
It does, yeah. So,
obviously, I always get a little bit alert when I hear him, obviously, because
of course,
of the proximity and everything. But again, you just become used to it, really.
Sure. Well, when I first met you, you were in Mykolaiv, and I know you were sort of wanting to get some hospital beds. And one of my friends from Huddersfield, who's got a humanitarian aid organisation called Huddersfield to Ukraine Humanitarian Aid, he delivered some beds. and he delivered them to a warehouse that we work with in Ivano-Frankivsk. So I suggested that you either go or we send some beds to Mykolaiv. So that was a good result for everybody. You know, the fact that this hospital was getting beds. So can I ask you, apart from the beds, what other stuff have you delivered to people in Ukraine?
Right, okay. Blimey. Start off, nappies, water, food, clothes, generators, chainsaws, all sorts, absolutely all sorts.
So like, I know like in England, a lot of people are sort of fundraising for 4x4s. That's quite a substantial thing to buy. I mean, you probably have to spend 4,000 or 5,000 or even more. Have you? I mean, what do you do when it comes to fundraising, and how do you manage to deal with stuff like that?
Well, talking of 4x4s, just before my last trip, which I was donated a 4x4 Ford Thunder, it's called, by a couple of fellow Chelsea fans,
right,
off a website that I post on every day.
Okay.
They've been absolutely brilliant as well, fellow Chelsea supporters, as is everyone, but, you know, supporters get a bad name, but I think this has shown the good side.
Okay.
You know, and that's how I rely. I just rely on sort of people's kindness or, you know, goodwill. That's it really. I don't sort of set massive targets, just enough to do what we need to do, really.
Sure.
And as I say, I've got a 4x4 over there already.
Right.
So we use that, you know.
Great. So give us a good story, you know, give us something that made you smile, made you happy, made you feel content that you've done a really good job. I'm sure there's many, but if you could just pick one, just
sure. Blimey. I think one of the good moments was actually, and that was quite recent. We delivered to this village on my last trip in the summer, and we said, "Okay, we'll be back." Unfortunately, I had to return to the UK,
right,
and I didn't get a chance to go back. And we went back this time, took some stuff we did 2 trips to them. Yeah. And it was nice because she said, "Oh, thank you very much indeed for not forgetting us."
Right.
You know, it wasn't sort of like, but it was just a nice
gesture.
Yeah, that was a nice moment. But again, I've had lots of nice moments, but loads of lovely people, you know, sort of people who want to sort of have the same sort of idea.
Sure. I mean, I've seen some of the work. I've seen some of the work that you do, and most recently, I saw how you sort of donated some stuff for the cats and dogs, and those people that were happy there. I also help out, you know, support the troops as well. Right. Got some generators up to them, couple of chainsaws, a stone cutter as well. Yeah, sort of essential stuff. You know, people think, "Oh, but that's what they're after at the moment." Yeah. I saw one of your videos where, you know, you're sitting in a vehicle and you're bombing along down the road and you're having to miss all the craters, and you sort of give lots of advice about, you know, don't go in the grassed area because it's mined. So tell me, what's a normal day like in somewhere like Mykolaiv? I mean, how does it work? Is it just like normal? It can't be normal life, but how does it work out there?
Very good people, looked after me. They have. Used to be good people used to live. Left. And over on the left here. Well, as you know,
I mean, the population, for example, there's probably not that many people there. I mean, are there shops? I mean, how does that go on?
If you go to Mykolaiv, it's sort of running pretty normally.
Oh, right.
You know, obviously the sirens go off, and to say there was a missile strike yesterday, but I mean, people have to
just get on,
try and keep going. You know, whatever that is. You know, and it just shows an act of defiance as well, which I think is good.
Excellent. So, obviously in England, there are loads of organisations that support Ukraine, and one of them is Hull for Ukraine, and you work with them?
Yeah, they supported me before, they donated, gave me some stuff that I could take to Ukraine last time, donated a generator.
Right.
Well, they gave me the money for it. I went and brought a generator and took it with me on the last trip because we filled the 4x4 that I was donated, filled up and drove it to Ukraine. And thanks to Chris and Lee, for that as well. They're good guys.
Yeah,
they're helpful Ukraine as well.
Yeah, looking on your Facebook page, it looks like you've made a lot of mates. Like the names like Serhiy and Valerie and Vadim.
Yeah, Sergey and Valerie, yeah.
Yes.
Sergey and Valerie. That's the guys I went on the last trip with. Absolutely lovely chaps. They do so much for their country.
Yeah.
They drive miles and miles and miles and go into some of the more dangerous places. There's no getting away from it. Yeah. And do what they can for their country, which I think is admirable.
Brilliant. So I've been asking you, I was going to ask you one more question. And then if you've got any questions to me, it's only fair you ask me a question because I've asked you loads of questions. But my question to you is, how's your Ukrainian? And do you know any Ukrainian words?
Nima Panamai.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a sort of small grip of the language.
Yeah.
I was good morning.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. Good evening.
Well, let's hear it then. Come on.
Dobro ranek, dobro day, dobro verchi, dobranich, yakuyu.
Fantastic.
Quite a few.
It's excellent.
A few others that I won't repeat on here, but
we don't want any swear words on here.
No, there won't be. Promise.
Okay, that's brilliant. So finally, is there anything you'd like to ask me before we close this video?
Yeah, I mean, how long have you been doing this, Steve?
Right. Okay. Well, I'm from Ukrainian descent, so obviously there's an interest there for me in Ukraine. I can speak the language. I've been to Ukraine 5 times.
Yeah.
Twice 30 years ago and 3 times last year. Because I do a lot of humanitarian aid with lots of people, with the Ukrainian Center, with people like Tim Marsden, with people like Olyan Bogdan in Ivano-Frankivsk.
Yeah.
It's always important to go out there and see where all that humanitarian aid has gone, because accountability, transparency, very important for people who give money or give items. They want to know where it's gone. So we'll make a good point, like yourself, of taking lots of photographs, doing lots of videos. Yeah. And,
I always take my, whether it's a pair of socks, generator, chainsaw, whatever, I always take it to source. Not that I don't trust anyone, but I think if someone gives you that, not responsibility, but trust you enough to say, right, I think it's the least you can do, is to say pair of socks, generator, 4x4,
Well, I mean, to give you an example, on 2 separate occasions where people have given me £100 to buy sort of food or sweets for kids at the orphanage.
Yeah.
I've literally WhatsApped them, filmed them, and they've seen me wandering around with a trolley in the supermarket in Ukraine and at the cash out till. So you can't get any more transparent than that. So it works. No. People love it, and it motivates them to help us even more. And we need as much help as we can get.
Definitely. As I say, over in the where I've been, it's pretty grim up there, and the guys up there, the Ukrainians, they need all the support they get from the fellow countrymen, everyone.
Sure.
They've got to pull together on this.
Definitely.
Pull together. Victory is in sight. So,
do you know how to say goodbye in Ukrainian?
Yeah, do побачення.
So, do побачення to you as well, and thank you for being on the video. All the best.
No, lovely. Thank you very much indeed, Steve. You take good care. All right.
Bye-bye now.
Thanks for having me, mate. Bye.